Hello, denizens of the internet. Welcome to another edition of RBF. Well, today was Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference, and I've got the specially professionally transcribed notes for you here. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. Yes, this is my special report on today's Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference. So excuse the little messy bits here. I hope I have everything in some kind of order. Let's get started. We had the opening screen that came up. And then Apple played a unusual and a little bit too long intro. We have obviously a whole bunch of people very excited about getting to the Worldwide Developers Conference. I get it, like the other traffic the other way was gone, but the traffic to the Worldwide Developers Conference was huge, yes. I get it, yes, okay. So then we've got obviously some programmers who have, are looking for the venue. Oh, they found the venue. Here they're funneling in, and then finally here they are in San Jose for the Worldwide Developers Conference. Exciting stuff. Anyway, so then the first slide, we welcome home developers, Worldwide Developers Conference 18, which I assume they meant 2018. I don't think Apple would get that wrong, would they? Nope. Anyway, Tim Cook took the stage, waving to the crowd. People loved him, and then he was running because that's what he does, right? He's a runner. He was in very good shape. It was a very. Then he was praying. He was praying, hoping that no one would notice that they didn't have any hardware to show. So anyways, that we know. Now he's waving again. He announced a whole bunch of things, but one of them was that there are 20 million Apple developers, and I found that was kind of interesting. Why did he say Apple developers? But then we found out, and there's 32 unhappy Mac OS developers in those statistics. He talked about the App Store, the world's largest app marketplace. That's very, very impressive, incredibly impressive. 500 million visitors per week to the app marketplace. And then he showed us the Trump tax break that Apple got, and then they repatriated $100 billion back into the country. So he was very proud. He was very proud of that. Then he talked about iOS. Then, obviously that's the big thing now, iOS, not the Mac OS. iOS is the core of all of Apple's profits these days. Then Craig Federighi took the stage to talk about the latest iOS 12 update. The overall satisfaction rate for iOS is was 95%. Woo, that's fantastic. And then the percentage of people who found bugs in iOS 11 was also 95%. And then they talked about the iOS 12 that's going to improve speed especially on the much maligned iPhone 6. Then he went into Apple AR, which is a big deal. They've now got ARKit 2, and they're really doubling down on this whole technology. Adobe actually is bringing out a whole bunch of these tools as part of their cloud thingamahoogie, which I've left because I'm not going to be held hostage by Adobe. Thank you, Abhay Parasnis, but you're not getting my money. Ever. Craig brought up the Fender store and was able to bring up a 3D version of a Fender Stratocaster. They're lucky that they didn't use Gibson, because then that wouldn't have looked very good, getting Gibson guitars, considering they've gone out of business. And then they introduced Lego, Martin Sanders from Lego, who talked about a very interesting, exciting extension to Lego using ARKit. And like all Lego employees, he has his arms sticking straight out. I mean, this is the standard Lego position. So that's completely understandable. They put this real Lego model on the table, but with a click of the button, they were able to create this virtual world all around it that looked just like Lego, and they were able to play games. Craig is back. And this was very interesting. When you share with iOS 12, when you share a picture with someone else, if they've also taken pictures of the same event, you have the option of stealing all their pictures from them of the same event. I think you can't steal it. You have to ask their permission. So if all of you, took pictures of a wedding and people barfing, and other people have pictures of the same guy barfing, then you could collect all those same pictures just so you can have them in your album, and you won't miss a thing. Then they got into Siri, which is a big deal. 10 billion requests per month for Siri, and it only recognized 12 of them. But you know, they're up from 10. It's an improvement, isn't it? Craig then showed us Siri suggestions, and then this person came out. I think her name was Kim. I can't quite recall. Interesting, she showed all these automated samples, but they were kind of millennial. The first example was, getting Siri to get your mint mojito coffee, and then she had Siri book a trip to someplace nice, and then, get a restaurant reservation, and then she was late for a meeting because she was doing all these trips and reservations and coffee things, and so she asked Siri to tell the person in charge of the meeting that she was going to be late. It was really, really weird. I thought, again, it was really super millennial, and maybe Siri should have an option to fire the employee. Siri will do it automatically on behalf of the company because the requests that you made were idiotic, and on top of that, you were late for work, which I don't understand why that's a good thing. Then this woman named Susan came up and talked about updated apps and new apps for iOS. And then Susan mentioned what I thought was the absolute highlight of the evening. I didn't think anything was going to top it, that it's no longer going to be called iBooks, it's going to be called Books. And they even brought Johnny Ive to talk about the process of removing the I. Here at Apple, we believe that it's important to spend an insane amount of time on the dumbest, stupidest, smallest things. And when we got the assignment to remove the I from iBooks, we took it seriously, and we knew that this was going to be a challenge because iBooks had been around for such a long time that you just couldn't remove the I. It wouldn't work. So we took our time. We did it bit by bit by bit over many, many, many months until the I was completely gone, and we couldn't recognize it any longer that it was there. The residual feeling of the I was gone, and it was just books, and it felt lighter. It was just books. Apple is going to let Waze and Google Maps on CarPlay. Then Craig came back, and then he talked about limiting iPhone distraction. Yes, people are distracted by all their devices, and they came out and talked about how the iPhone is a very big contributor to distracting people. And they talked about the different built-in systems that they either have or they're improving on to help mitigate that. And they've showed, the mother ignoring her child while she's in the business of Snapchatting or Instagramming or something like that. It was a very good picture, actually. So, I'm not going to go through all the things that they're doing, but this actually looked pretty cool, and they're able to control when you're going to be using different apps. Oh, and this was interesting. Finally, all you iPhone users who have been bugged by the fact that Android is able to collect messages into logical groups, well, Apple has finally done it. They've copied Android with their own special sauce, and you can now group messages. Thank you for doing this before I died. Okay, so then they got into chat and FaceTime, and there's some pretty cool stuff here. You're able to have tongue detection now in what is your emojis. And then they have something called Memoji, which I was kind of expecting to happen because Samsung has, instead of using animals, they have people. And so Apple, yes, through great applause, Apple now has people emojis, or Memojis, as they call it. It's pretty good. Pretty cool, actually. It worked very, very well. And then a woman came on, and her name, Jules. She connected and did stuff and looked at the phone, and she made a memoji of herself and a dog on her shoulder. It was really quite wonderful. Now, actually, I think this was probably the coolest thing at the WWDC was they can have, where's my notes here? They can have up to 32 people at the same time. That's insane. I thought that was really good. They did the demo, seemed to work very well. You can even use, whoever's talking obviously comes up big, and you can even use your Memoji or your Animoji as your avatar, and even Tim has a Memoji for himself, although I can't tell the difference. Ah! That was scary. Okay, next they talked about Apple Watch. Some pretty interesting stuff. Kevin Lynch, the former Adobe guy who's been with Apple for quite some time. Super talented guy. And he was talking about all the new features of Apple Watch. And then something else that caught my eye was progress updates. And what this is, you can now connect Apple Watches to each other and compete with other people with Apple Watch and one-up them and make games of it and go, ha ha ha, you're behind on you're closing your rings, asshole. I'm beating you. No, I'm catching up to you. I'm leaving from work early and leaving my children alone just so I can close my rings faster than you. It's not very competitive at all. You have awards. If you beat the other guy, then you get an award. One of the interesting things about this entire escapade so far is that while Apple is really concerned now about the amount of the day you're spending with their device, what they intend to do is pack whatever time you have decided to allow for your iOS devices with as much stuff as they possibly can. So they're whipping you to death in the shorter amount of time that they've made available to you. The truth is that the programmers who are making all these exercise apps are probably the people who are out of shape the most. Oh, one really cool thing is Walkie-Talkie. I don't know why they never thought about this before. I never thought of it. I think it's pretty cool. Going back to the old Walkie-Talkie days, if you're old enough to remember it. Another woman, lots of women, that's great. She's kicking ass on this machine, and she wants to, and now she's competing, and while she's competing with the other guy for the closing the ring, she's also booking a table, and then she's booking her yoga event, going to this retreat, this yoga retreat, and she's ordering stuff. She's reading a website. You can now read websites on your watch. Yeah, like I want to do that. The thing is, when you're exercising, you should be concentrating on the exercise. You should be thinking internally about what your body is feeling and what it's doing, and just, drive the goodness within. You shouldn't be like futzing around with your Apple Watch trying to order things. I mean, it just makes no sense. Anyways. Then they talked about Apple TV. Who cares? Okay, so neither does Tim. 4K TV. I mean, I don't think anyone's buying Apple TV anymore. They're doing Roku and these Roku. And then they talked about Dolby Atmos, which is kind of cool. The only thing that's not cool is while they said that the Apple TV is compatible with this new fantastic standard for super deluxe high fidelity sound out of your Apple TV, you have to have a speaker that is Dolby Atmos compatible. And is Apple's HomePod Atmos compatible? No, it's not! Okay, so then what's the point of it? I mean, you'd think that at least HomePod would be marginally useful as a Dolby speaker for your TV, but apparently not. And the Mac came at the very end. Here we go. Are they going to talk about hardware? No. I'll beat you to the punch. They don't talk about hardware. They do talk about the Mac OS, and they talk about, at the very beginning it was about water, and then they took the water away and made you, climb mountains, and now they just give you a desert. Maybe this is a metaphor for where they're taking the Mac. They're taking you into the waterless desert. They're showing you oases. What's the plural for oasis? Oasis, where you see, there's the new Macintosh. There's a Mac Mini that's powerful and not expensive. And they've got this MacBook Pro in the Oasis. Is this a mirage? I can't believe it. I gotta see this. It's a MacBook Pro with actual things on the side, inserty things on the side. You can put stuff in. It's not just the USB-C, and the keyboard isn't shitty. And I can change my own RAM. I can update my own drive. Oh my god, no, it's a mirage. Fuck you. The big feature of Mac OS is that they have dark mode. Yes. More dark stuff. This is the Mac innovation that Apple is bringing to all of us, and here's code in dark mode. Exciting. Oh, one interesting thing, this, as you can see here on the screen, this is my father-in-law mode. Oh, and then another new feature is that they now offer more information about any of the files in your Finder. This was really cool, fingerprinting. I never knew that all these people out there that are collecting data, even if you have all the things kind of switched off to prevent them from knowing who you are, you have attributes to your browser, like your favorite typeface and the kinds of things that you go out and look for. Obviously, they know they collect that information. But there's all sorts of interesting information that you would never think they're collecting, but they are, and they turn that into a fingerprint. So even if you're not totally exposed, they know who you are just from these tiny clues, which is really bloody scary. And Apple calls this fingerprinting, or I guess that's the industry norm for it. And Apple, in this latest OS with Safari, is going to prevent all these bad people out there from following your fingerprints. Then this woman came out to talk about the new Mac App Store, which looks more like an iOS app. Yes, it does. The software inside hasn't been updated, but the App Store has, which is good. I mean, the App Store has been kind of left alone for a good long time. And they'll also include Microsoft Office 365 software now in the App Store. Apple has made a deal with them. Technologies, they talked about Metal and machine learning. That's right, ML is machine learning. They can now they officially support external GPUs with some very good performance updates. As you can see, you can take a look at it yourself. 1.8, 2.6, 3.4. So you have 3 eGPUs, you get 3.4 times the speed. So this is on the iMac Pro, and then even if you on your 13-inch MacBook Pro, you get some very good speed boosts. So you take your wonderful little MacBook Pro, and then you attach 3 eGPUs. Then they talked about giving the developers tools to port over iOS applications so they will work on Mac OS, because they have to add mouse support and things like that, which I really don't understand. I don't get why Apple will not let you use a mouse with your iOS device. I mean, for God's sakes, I mean, you've got your iPad Pro, it's got a keyboard, and you've got a stylus. I mean, please just let me connect a mouse. I'm an adult, okay? We know that Steve wanted to force developers and people to try the finger-only interface, but we get it now. We touch the screen. It makes perfect sense for us. Why not just let us use a mouse? And they ended the show with a picture of a really wrinkly old woman. So there you go. That is the Apple Worldwide Developers Conference for 2018. Thank you very much, Internet denizens. So long.